Alright, what is up? Hello, welcome to... Oh shit. Smack the camera then. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I was just looking for an excuse to make a video. And I thought I would do a quick run through of my pedal board. So I've been using this... Doing a quick tune. So I've been using this pedal board for a while now. Mainly with my band Wetlands. Go check us out on Instagram at wetlandsband. Yeah, I'm mostly using it with them and kind of, you know, as most guitarists are, I've never felt quite satisfied with my board and I've never felt like it was ready. But for the first time in a long time, I'm feeling very happy with this particular combination of pedals. And so I thought I would do a video on it because I don't really do pedal board videos that often because it changes so much. You know, if ones I've filmed in the past, in between from when I filmed it to when it comes out, my board's changed. So it's not, you know, an accurate representation. But I'm feeling pretty happy with this board. We've got a big show coming up. It's a big deal, and I thought better just stick with what I know for now, at least until the show's over. Yeah, so I just thought we'll go through it. I'm playing my pink Japanese Stratocaster. Got some Mick Brearley, Isaiah Mitchell signature pickups in it. They're just Stratty but a bit hotter. Going through the pedal board, which I'll explain in a second, and then we're going out into the Strymon Iridium from, the Iridium from Strymon, and then into the Pinstripe Pedals Daiso Plus. Just acting as my DI. And then we're going straight into my interface. Here at home, I can't use an amp. I live in a kind of small apartment, so turning up my big amp is not really ideal. But I use a custom 68 Pro Reverb Fender amp. So I use the Fender amp sound on the Iridium. I think that makes sense. Alright, so let's get into the board. So the main part of the pedal board is this pedal, the 1981 Inventions DRV. The whole pedal board is based around the sound of that. I've often done this where I will have a drive pedal, in this case it's this one, at the end of my drive chain, right at the end, but then before the wets. You know, this is kind of the pre-drive area, and this is the wet post-drive area. And the reason I do that is essentially, it seems counterintuitive, right? Because I use a completely clean amp, but I never actually use a completely clean sound. It's always got at least a bit of drive on it, which seems counterintuitive. It's like just use an overdriven amp, right? But the reason I do that is because when I play gigs, I backline quite a lot. If I don't have to bring my own amp, I will try not to, just because it's usually a hassle, especially if we're gigging in like the city. It's a pain in the ass to move your gear around, and I like to be as mobile as possible. You know, I take one guitar, got a mono cases, throw it on my back, and then pedal board in my hand. It's how I like to travel, and so if there's a backline amp, I will use it. If not, my amp is pretty light, so I can take it with me. It's just a bit more of a pain in the ass, especially when you're like taking Ubers and stuff. But yeah, I usually encounter all kinds of amps, usually Hot Rod Deluxes, but I've also had Twins and like Roland JC 120s. I've got a couple of AC15s, which aren't ideal, but usually I will just turn off, in this case, the 1981, and we'll just run, because it's hard to get an AC15 loud and clean. An AC30 I could, but an AC15 not. So I usually just turn off the drive pedal, turn the amp up, try and keep it as clean as possible. It's usually got a bit of gain, and then I just suffer and try and turn all my wet effects down a bit more. But yeah, this is ideal. So we'll go through the signal chain, but the 1981 Inventions is in loop 4 of the gig rig, so we'll just leave it on as we go through. You probably can't see on the camera, but it's got drive all the way down, volume all the way up, and the cuts at maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock. And alright, so just the So it's good. It's got enough gain on tap that if I really dig in, I can really get it going. But it's also clean and not gaining enough that I can turn it down. And it's a really nice sounding pedal. I had one of these ones before, same color, sold it. Don't know why. Just couldn't get on with it. But now that I've got this one, I'm really, really enjoying it. And yeah, it's kind of the basis of my whole thing. It's got the kind of nice, sparkly upper mids kind of things going on, without being overly too muddy or mid heavy. It's kind of got the right amount of high mids, but not too trebly, not too bassy. It's a really good sound. And using it with the Strat, it's maybe just on the edge of being a little too bright on the bridge and just a little bit too dark on the neck, but you can kind of compensate drive pedals, and it gives me a nice amount of range to play with. Alright, nice and noisy. Power supply, I'm using the Chox DC7 and the Chox 4. I would like to upgrade to the Chox 8 to have more, but I'm at this weird point where I still have to do a bit of daisy chaining with the Chox 4, but I would not use a couple of power points, not use a couple of outlets if I got the Chox 8, so just sticking with the Chox 4. Alright, go from the beginning. First, we go straight into the data corrupter from Earthquaker Devices. I usually also have a volume pedal for some volume swells, but I didn't include it because you know what a volume pedal does. Alright, so this, I use it in 2 songs. I originally bought this pedal to piss off my pen mates because I thought they'd hate it and tell me to never use it, and they ended up loving it. And it got used on the single, on the lead, the guitar solo of our most recent single, You Left Your Empty Drink in My Car. Go check it out on Spotify. So yeah, it's not a pedal I've spent a shit ton of time with. I kind of just don't really use it until it comes to rehearsal time, and then I just kind of turn it on and see what happens. So let's see what happens. So yeah, it's like an analog synth fuzz thing. Really cool. I should use it more. I don't have it on the pedal board. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I can't really see it on the camera. I've got, I don't know, just got some random settings. I don't even really know what I'm doing. I've got, the master oscillator is on 2, subharmonics on 1. Nothing crazy, but you can get really you can do harmony stuff with it, but I've just kind of stuck to roots and octaves, and using the square wave for the most part. It's really cool, though. I should spend more time with it. I don't have it on my board, though, because it's such a big pedal and it's only used for 2 songs. And if I don't have it, it's not the end of the world. Like, if I can't use it, I can kind of get by. I'll just, like, use the big muff or something. So I don't want to commit to having it on my board when it only gets... And it's a hard pedal to use all the time. It's not something you would want to use a lot. Anyway, after that, TU3 with a slightly broken input. After that, we go into the Nano POG, which I use more in one of my other bands that I'm in, where I also use this board, but we've been on a bit of a break because our bass player's been on holiday. I use the POG way more. We're more like psychedelic stoner type stuff, whereas Wetlands, the band I'm using this currently with, is like alt rock with like shoegazy elements in there, kind of like alt rock, grungy, emo shit. But the POG gets used for like a solo and some bits. It just throw in the Hazumatas. Sorry, camera stopped recording there. But yeah, that's just the POG. Does what it does what it says on the tin. Alright, now we go into the Gig Rig Quartermaster. Loop 1 is the Phase 90. I usually use it quite slow or either really fast. So or either one. It's cool. I used to use the Bad Stone or Small Stone from Electro Harmonics for a while, but switched to the Phase 90 just because, you know, why not? I love a good Phase 9. I'm a big, see if this will work. Nowhere near enough again. I haven't practiced that song in a long time. But yeah, big Van Halen fan, love a Phase 90. Alright, after that, we're going to loop 2. You heard it just before. It's the Limelight from Electronic Audio Experiments. Collaboration he did with Touche Amore, the post-punk, post-hardcore band, and I would say this is my main drive pedal. My main drive combination is the Limelight, into the DRV. Those are the 2 combinations I use the most. And it's one of those things where I'm just kind of, depending on how I'm feeling and how much gain I want, I'm just kind of mucking around with the settings. The focus switch, it's got a lot of range in it. And I use the boost quite a bit as well. It's quite handy. So yeah, that's what it is. It's good to have the boost. I'll use that sometimes kind of for maybe some more swell stuff. I'm doing swells. It's good to have a boost going on. And otherwise then the drive is just a really good drive. I use a very similar setup to the boys in Touche, and I play sort of similar music, so it just makes sense, to go with that. All right, loop tray has got 2 pedals in it. It has the Hazumatas, which I think is first. I never stack them though, so it doesn't matter. It's got the Hazumatas, Earthquaker Devices, and the Klon KTR. The fabled Klon KTR. I just use the Hazumatas as like the big fat sound, thick boy distortion if I ever want it, and I use the KTR as a bit of a lower gain, maybe a little bit smoother sounding. The KTR isn't necessarily a super permanent fixture. I sometimes will put the longsword from Electronic Audio Experiments as well, and I used to use the Limelight as the lower gain and the longsword as the higher gain, but I swapped the KTR off another board for one of my other bands, which I'll get to in another video. I kind of put it on here to do a bit lower gain stuff. So start with the KTR. I can never remember what the knobs do, so see how it sounds. Yeah, so I have the KTR as a little less spiky, a little less aggressive, a bit smoother, slightly lower gain than the Limelight. Just for something a bit different, if I'm doing lots of kind of tasty lead stuff, it's kind of smoother, more classic bluesy, solo-y type stuff, which doesn't sound like it would fit in our music, but you'd be surprised. I'll use the KTR. And then we have the Hazumatas, which you heard a bit before, but it is what it is. It's super loud, super fuzzy. It's kind of like I think it's like a triangle big muff type thing. It's based off a pedal that I think was based off a triangle big muff. I've got a video on the Hazumatas if you want to go check it out on my channel. Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe, because I really like Russian big muffs too, thinking about maybe sorting out, maybe putting like the hoof, or getting like maybe like a tall font big muff clone, Russian big muff clone from someone, swap it out. But I'm sticking with that for now, just because I'm used to it. So that's loop 3. Now we're in loop 4. Obviously we have the 1981 Inventions, but we also have the Mood from Chase Bliss Audio. The Mood, a bit dirty. I've had this pedal for a long time, and it's pretty much never left my board, except for a brief period where I was using the Blooper instead, which I no longer have because I didn't use it. Yeah, the Mood is an interesting pedal. I have it in loop 4 because loop 4 is always on, and so I can always just smack it and catch something. I really like this over all the other kind of weird micro loopers. Like I've had the Blooper and I had the Montreal Assembly Count to 5, and the Mood just does it. It's great for just capturing really weird shit, to put it lightly. And I really like this mode. So Sorry, I just got to make sure my camera doesn't turn off. So if you know the Mood, I have a video on the Mood from a couple of years ago when it came out, if you want to check it out. But yeah, if you know the Mood, you know it has the looper side and the wet side. So I use the tape looper on the tape sound on the looper side, and I use the slip mode on the wet side. And I guess I'll demonstrate why. So when you've got the looper, you can kind of... I'll actually demonstrate how I use it in the set. That would make more sense. So there is a... Oh, I had the clon on as well with the big muff. Alright, so in the context of the song... Poor demonstration because I had to reach with my hands, but essentially there was a bit in one of our songs where I have a solo break, and then there's kind of like a little bit of a breakdown section where it's a bit more chill. So what I do is I grab the last note of the solo, which is an E, because it's an E minor song, and I grab it, and then I kind of can control the pitch, and as you heard, and I kind of do that as a bit like an ambient weird noise breakdown bit, and then before we go back into the song. Now the slip side I use kind of like we have a new song, and during the verses I'm kind of playing these. And essentially what it's doing is it's like an octave pitch delay. What I love about this is you can kind of change pitches, so if you combine the two, just like fun shit to do at the end of the song or the end of the set, you know. It's always a bit of fun just to make some weird noises. But yeah, that's how I use the Mood, just for those two kind of sounds. I know it is a deep pedal, but that's just how I use it. Loop 5, Jam Pedals, Waterfall. So I use this in one of our songs, going to be our next single. I don't know when it's coming out. But yeah, I like using chorus, and I like using it a bit faster. It's a bit more rotary-esque. But I don't actually like... I'm not a huge fan of actual rotary sounds. Bit too wet, bit too like glassy almost for me. But I like a chorus approximation. And the pedal I had before this was the Arion stereo chorus, and I loved that pedal. And literally like not even a week before we were going to go into the studio to record with Wetlands, that pedal started malfunctioning. And I couldn't get one that would get to me in time, so I tried to get a JHS Emperor, because I know that is based off the Arion, but they were out of stock everywhere. So I just got the Waterfall and hope for the best, and it sounds really good. Not as rotary as the Arion, but does a good job. It's like a CE2, but way better. Actually, I had a Japanese CE2, and when I got this pedal, I sold that one. So there you go. vibrato, which I never use, but it's fun to have if you want it. Camera stopped again. Loop 5 is the Orca from GFI. Is it just called GFI? GFI system? I don't know. From the people who make the what's it called? The GFI fucking thingo. You know, the Specular Tempest. Those people. Yeah, I wanted to get Specular Tempest. Seemed too complicated and confusing for me because I'm a bit of a caveman. You notice I'm no screens, no presets or anything on any of these pedals. It's just WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, kind of thing. Except for the Orca. So I just got the Orca because I wanted to muck around with maybe having a second delay sound. But so yeah, I've got just standard tape delay for my main delay. That's just basically it. That's it. I've been mucking around with the preset a bit lately, and it's saved. So I'm just going to quickly save that now. I also have a second preset, which is just a digital delay, and it's a bit of a longer, clearer, louder delay for one of our songs, which I will play now. It's hard to keep it in time when you're on yourself, but our drummer's really good, consistent, so I'll just kind of tap it in just before we go into the verse bit, and so I can kind of do that. I think I'm a bit out of tune, but that's the main gist. It's just kind of a more I want to kind of get that ringing out longer, louder, clearer repeats, which is why I've gone to which is why I went to the digital delay for that. It's got a lot of other cool sounds in it. I'm just not a huge fan of millions of presets. Anyway, that's the last loop. Out of that, we go out of the gig rig, and now we go into 2 reverbs. 3 reverbs, actually. A lot of reverbs. Now the reason I have these two, we'll talk about these two next. The Afterneath from Earthquaker and the Slow from Walrus. The reason I have them out of loops is because they both have trails on. And my delay doesn't, and that's fine. I'm okay with cutting that one sharp or short. But these two, I kind of want the trails to ring out a bit. So I've got them out of the loop. So and they're right here, right in front of me, so I can get to them easily. Yeah, so let's bit of Afterneath action. Still a bit of drop D. So that's a crazy like multi-tap reverb delay thing. There's heaps of different sounds in that. I kind of just use it as kind of an alternate to the slow. And the reason I have both on there, like the sounds aren't different enough for it to warrant having them both on there just for the sake of it. But the reason I have it on there is I use the slow, as you saw in the beginning of the video, for kind of a I use it to grab notes like this and create a pad, and it's good to be able to have another reverb, because when you have the pad on, there's no extra reverb, so it's good to be able to have a second reverb. And sometimes I'll just turn them on both together, get extra shoegazy, like in this particular song. And I'll just kind of, in between for certain songs, I'll muck around with the settings on the slow. I use it for, there's a couple of key points in our set where I use the sustain function, which is why I still have the slow. I probably would have given something else a go. Not that I don't like it, but I just would have tried something else by now. But the slow has been there because it has the sustain, and it's the only thing I can find that does it. It's just, apart from like the EHX Freeze, where it's just a pad, right? It's a pad that I can, to have the dry pedal, it's a pad that I can smack and then walk away from it, because we'll do there's an end of the song where I catch the last note and we use it as a transition, and that means I can hit it, it's going, and I can walk away, I can tune, grab a drink, right, have a drink, right? I don't have to keep my fucking foot on it like some pedals where they make you hold your foot on the sustain the whole time. And it's not like the Mood or the Montreal Assembly Canto 5 where it's like, it's not like glitching or something. It's just a smooth, infinite, rhythmless pad, which I need for quite a few points in the set. And so that's why I've got it. And until something else better comes along, I'm probably just going to keep the slow because that's what I've used. Anyway, final pedal. Strymon Flint. I like a bit of plate reverb, like to have it always on. So without it, got a bit of room, the room reverb on the Iridium on. It's a lot of room, have the room just under halfway, just make it sound like the amps in the room. I love plate, you know, what can I say? I love a good bit of harmonic tremolo. Love a harmonic tremolo, but one thing I love using it for is a really choppy tremolo. And the single, You Left Your Empty Drink in My Car, that I mentioned before, is the data corrupter on the solo, and right at the end of the solo I do something. I'll try and mimic it a bit. So that really choppy kind of... But with this on, it sounds really weird and synthy. And I turn it off right before I hit the last note. But yeah, it just kind of adds an extra weirdness, kind of thing. Choppy, strange. I'm just trying to kind of keep things a bit fresh, use a couple of weird sounds, but not too weird. But yeah. So that is it. This video has gone on long enough. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Go check out my band Wetlands on Spotify and on Instagram at wetlandsband. Yeah, this is my board. Hopefully it doesn't change between now and when I edit this video. But yeah, cheers for watching, and goodbye.